I'm going to show you how Mercy's new super jump works. Although it's not really a super jump anymore, it's more of just her guardian angel. So Mercy has seen a rework in Overwatch 2, which completely changed the super jump, aka they just removed the super jump. But they've replaced it with a new ability that you can use during Guardian Angel, and it's a little complicated, so let's go ahead and I'm going to try to explain this to you. The first thing you need to know about is the crouch button, and I'm using the buttons like crouch and jump instead of saying space or control because I know a lot of you are on console too if you're watching this. So it's going to be with the crouch button. So you would link onto somebody and you would Guardian Angel at them, so like your normal Guardian Angel. If at any point during this Guardian Angel you crouch, you'll go straight up, an exact perfect up, not at an angle at all, straight up. And this lets you do some interesting things. So you can actually jump to someone and go up, and then hold the jump button, and then you can just, as it comes off cooldown, you can Guardian Angel and press crouch. Guardian Angel, press crouch, and just float in the air forever like this. So Guardian Angel crouch, Guardian Angel crouch, Guardian Angel crouch. So that's new, and that's a really interesting thing. But now I'm going to show you it from an actual normal perspective. I'm going to turn the UI back on. The reason for that is there's now a bar. So if you watch right by the crosshair, on the right side of my crazy crosshair, you'll see that bar that fills over there. So that bar, if you notice, fills from bottom to top. And once it's filled all the way, that will determine how far you go with Guardian Angel. So if you use Guardian Angel and then press crouch, immediately it won't charge at all and you'll barely go up. So if I just do it and immediately go up, I only go this high. And you'll see that's like not very high at all. But if I go the whole way till it's full, then press it, now I go really high. So that bar determines how much power is in your Guardian Angel boost, super jump, basically, the new jump with it. Now that bar is determined by how far you are to the target. So if you're really close to someone like this, the bar literally can't fill before Guardian Angel's done. There's kind of a minimum amount of distance you need, which is something more like this, a little bit more than that even, so a little bit more like this, in order to get the bar almost full before your Guardian Angel runs out. So it's a little weird, and it can definitely, it's weird, guys. It gets weird, but that's how it's going to work. Generally, when you're playing, you're not going to pay attention to that. You're just going to do your thing, and you'll get a feel for it eventually and kind of just know what's going to happen. Nobody really just looks at the bar. That's not what you're going to be doing at all. Okay, so that's the basics of it, but there's so much more. All right, you guys ready for step 2 of this tutorial? Okay, so the other thing that you need to know about is that there's a new ability on top of that new ability that you can control exactly where you go based on where you look and are you holding forward or backwards. So if I go to this person, and there's also just a nothing. So if I Guardian Angel to Zarya and then press jump, it will just do that normally, right? Like it will just do almost nothing. Do a normal jump like that. But if I hold forwards and do that, so hold, I'm going to Guardian Angel, I'm going to hold forwards and then jump at the end. So Guardian Angel, forward, and then press jump, you'll see I go forward. And if I hold backwards, so I use Guardian Angel, hold backwards, press jump, I'll go backwards. Now you can't go sideways. Holding sideways does nothing, which is kind of unfortunate in a way. Especially for, I don't know. Well, anyway. So what's really interesting about this is you can control your movement exactly where you want. So I can actually go sideways because of this. So all I have to do is look where I want to go. So if I jump to Zarya here, I can actually get up to that platform up there, even though it's off to the side, which we could not do before with the old super jump. So all I have to do is Guardian Angel ladder, turn to the left, up and up, because I want to go upwards too, and then hold forwards while using Guardian Angel and press jump once I get close. So I'm going to jump to her and turn, and then jump up like that by holding forward and then pressing space. And you can do this to go anywhere you want. So whichever way I'm looking, if I'm holding forward, it's going to jump me in that direction. Same thing for backwards. I can look down at the ground and hold backwards and go straight up, kind of like pressing control, or I just press control and go up. Or I can go to her and then go like this, or I can do the thing where you just sit here and float, kind of, and you just look down a little bit and then kind of keep your momentum but keep going backwards too. You can control your movement and hang out wherever you want. And it sounds really good, and it is pretty good, but it's a little rough in certain scenarios. There's scenarios where the old Guardian Angel was better, and you'll get killed because of this one, and there's times where the old Guardian Angel, you would have died, but now you have an option you wouldn't have had before. So now you might be wondering about super jump reses. So now it's a little different. You have to do it early, or you have to do it in a way that's really strange, where you have to jump at someone, and then you have to jump early at an upward angle. I may have to use like Microsoft Paint to actually describe this real fast. Okay, so let's say this is the res target. This is your dead teammate. Obviously, this is Mercy. Now, the way a super jump res used to work was you would super jump, which would make you go under your normal flight path. You would, at just the right time, go use the super jump and res, and then you would go up like this, and you would stop just high enough to not break the connection distance vertically, and you would float in the air right up here and get the res right here as you slow fall. And you can't do it like that anymore unless you happen to be really close to him. So the other scenario is if Mercy is right here, really close, then when you go at them and press crouch, you'll go straight up, but you won't go very high. So then you can just do it like the old one, it's easier. But if you're actually far away, like over here, then there's only one way that you can actually do this, which is really weird, and I'm not sure you'll even be able to do this correctly on console, because you're gonna need to do some quick spinning with the with your aim. So what you would have to do is go towards them, and somewhere further away, like out here, you're going to look upwards at like a 45-degree angle or something along those lines, depending on the distance and the speed and all that, 30-degree angle to 60-degree angle. And then what's going to happen is you're going to fly past your target like this, and what you'll do is you'll look up at this angle, press jump so you start going this way, and immediately look downwards at your target and press the res button as you're flying past it at this angle. And if you do this correctly, then what you'll be able to do is fly past, initiate the res, float on the other side of your target out here somewhere, but still be close enough for the res and not break that res distance between, you know, you and the target. And that's going to be much harder. And on console, it may not even be really all that possible. It's going to be really hard because you've got to snap your, you're going to have your aim up at this angle, press jump, and immediately snap your aim down like this to res. And on PC, it's doable. I just think console is going to be really tough without the highest sense you can go, basically. So that is kind of the new super jump when you're far away. Again, when you're close, you just go straight up, and you don't go very high, so it's fine. But yeah, now it's going to be a totally different angle like that if you want to do it with the new system. All right, let's see if I can get it on one of these bodies. That was a little weird, but you have to remember that res stops you too, which I didn't really explain in the other one. The res will stop your momentum, so you've got to kind of choose where you're going to do it from, and it's not going to be nearly as effective as an old super jump where you'd be moving during the super jump, but it's still a thing. So let's try it again. So you can do something like that in order to have a little bit more movement during the res and not be as much of a target. So hopefully that gives you an idea of like the new super jump res. It's a little weird. There's a lot of different, but the thing is there's a lot more variation to how it can look now. So you'll just have to play with it and get a feel for it and, you know, decide which way you like to do it and try to find what works for you. Like that was a bad one, but still, you know, you get the point. I'm going to show you really fast what some of those super jump reses look like from third person before we go past this. So it would look something like that from third person if you did it kind of right. And there's another example for you to see. So then there's Valkyrie. So now we got to think about what happens when I'm using Valkyrie and doing this. So it's going to be the same thing. If I hold backwards, I go back. If I hold forwards, I go forward. But it's a little different because I can fly, and so it kind of changes the trajectories a little bit, but it's still pretty much the same concept. No matter what way you come in, you can just go in any direction you want. Although it lets you go a lot further, it seems like, when you do it in Valkyrie. So you can expect the distances to be much greater, which could be good or bad, depending on the scenario, but they were also really big distances in the past as well, so it's not totally insane to go that far. Okay, so that's everything about the super jump and how it works. So now I want to have a quick little discussion about console players. So if you play with a controller, what does all this mean for you? Well, the moral of the story is that the new Mercy super jump is going to make controller play way harder for Mercy. Now, this might surprise people who use keyboard and mouse, but Mercy was already probably the hardest character to use with a controller in the entire game. Now, obviously, aiming was not necessarily the hard part. The hard part was she has so many buttons and so many different interactions with her buttons and how to control them, manipulate them, that on a controller, it was very difficult. I have a friend who mains Mercy, and she literally had to get a controller with extra buttons to make it easier to play Mercy, basically. And I've played Mercy on a PlayStation 4 plenty of times, and yeah, it's brutal. It's actually really hard how many buttons there are and how many interactions there are. And now, it's going to be even more difficult. Because while you don't have to do the crouch and Guardian Angel and then jump thing, it's even harder because now you have to spin around while doing stuff. So now, if you want to play Mercy effectively on a controller, you are probably going to have to turn your sensitivity way up, or maybe turn your sensitivity even all the way up to max, depending on which way you want to go about it. And so you're going to have to give up your aim as Mercy on a controller, which is not a big deal for Mercy, I guess. But being able to use your pistol as Mercy is actually really nice on console, so especially at lower ranks. But so it's kind of a compromise. So you're gonna have to play really high sense and be swinging around wildly now as Mercy, and it's gonna be much more difficult on a controller than mouse and keyboard. Mouse and keyboard, you can do a 180 flick in, you know, a tenth of a second or less, whereas a controller, even with max settings for speed, max sensitivity, it'll probably still take like a quarter of a second or more to do a 180. Because that's just the nature of controllers. Even if you turn ramp up speed off and all these things so it's just instantly the right speed and all this, it's still going to be rough. One tip that I have if you're using a controller is to focus on mastering the ability to just go straight up by pressing crouch. When to use that one, how to use that one to float in the air, and then also to focus on flying backwards. Because it's a little bit easier to float around and go where you need to go when you go backwards. Because you're going towards someone, you just gotta look down a little bit and then, you know, press the button and you go backwards at an upward angle and you can float and things. So I would focus on that first if you're on a controller before trying to get used to turning left and up at an 80-degree angle and then jumping in that direction and stuff. Like, take it one step at a time. And that goes for mouse and keyboard players too. If you're going to learn this, since everyone's got to learn it now, who plays Mercy at least, I would take it one step at a time. I would focus first at your ability to just float in the air, and then after that, I would then incorporate flying backwards to different places, and then after that, focus on flying forwards, and then start focusing on how to do all three on demand when you need to do them. And my final thoughts on this new thing is that it has potential to be really, really good, but there are shortcomings with it that make Mercy kind of bad now, and given the meta now, that's very high speed, and there's not much tank to hide behind, you've got to basically really, really master it to get good value out of Mercy now. And even then, in my opinion, they're, like, you know, this is on launch when I made the video, there are way better heroes now than Mercy, which it's kind of always been that way, but it's kind of exaggerated right now because it's like, the new super jump tech is kind of slow feeling and kind of clunky feeling, and at the higher you go in ranks, the more you'll find yourself getting punished because of that. But it has potential to get really crazy, and I would like to see eventually, like, maybe it could be better. And I will be playing Overwatch throughout the next whatever period of time, and I play a lot of Mercy, so I'm hoping at some point I will change my mind and be like, no, it's better than the previous one. And I see how that could be possible, but time will tell. I'll have to really master it and see other people doing it and stuff, and see if that really truly is the case. Because there are scenarios where the new one is better and it'll save your life, and there are scenarios where you die because you can't go as high, or because you can't go as high from a short distance. There's like different things, and you can't control your angle quite the same way and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. So that's the new Mercy super jump. And that's how it works, and hopefully now you fully understand Mercy's new kit and can get out there and learn it and have fun playing this hero.